I want to get a bit into the traumas since you are a trauma specialist, right? Adoption trauma specialist. So, like, what do you typically deal with in your work? What do people typically go to you for?
I've been in the adoption profession or the adoption therapy profession for about 10 years now. I've seen a number of situations where what gets uncovered um, is that there's uh, trauma from the parents, from the adopted parents and their families, unresolved issues and things from when they grew up, how they were raised, their attachment styles, their sense of relationships, and what's healthy and what's not. So I wanted to open this up to the other side to all this is we're looking at historic trauma, intergenerational trauma.
What does that mean?
And really what that means is from one generation to the next that traumatic experiences that aren't resolved,
Get passed
whether
down.
individually or systemically in the family or societally,
Hmm.
it all gets passed down.
I mean, I know one thing that parents do quite often with raising their children is teaching their children their own fears. So they
Mm.
often teach their children to not do things or be careful of things because they themselves have a traumatic experience or that was passed down to them through their parents. And, it goes on generations and generations of trauma. You're just reliving somebody else's trauma for generations. But how is that specific to adoption?
For intercountry and transracial adoptees, um, there's just a number of losses right up front. It's not just the loss of the parents or the loss of the mother, it's the loss of the country, it's the loss of the culture, it's the loss of the heritage, it's the loss of the experiences that they would have, to be, to feel like they belong to their native culture and their native country.
Hmm.
So just there's that, you know, going into it. And then what I see typically is none of this gets addressed. None of this gets resolved for
Hmm.
that child. And what we know now about trauma, it's held within the body. It's body memory. It's held within the brain, where the brain then starts acting more like a traumatized brain. So that child then lives in fear. And so because of that, what I say, there are the four F's. There's the fight and flight, which has been around for a while. There's freeze, and then there's fawn. And what I see typically is on a daily basis, regular day, this child is activated. Their trauma is activated. They're being triggered. And so they're always in this fight, flight, freeze, fawn mode. If you think about a baby bird that falls out of the nest,
Hmm.
or anytime the mama bird flies off to get breakfast, it becomes a life and death situation for that baby.
I
Right.
see. I
Right?
see.
There's no shelter, there's no roof, there's no, you know, I mean, some animals, they do bury holes and they do, hide their babies, but really that sense of protection and safety and security that that parent is able to offer, whenever they're gone, it becomes a life and death situation. So what that
Mm,
does for us is it creates that sense of all or nothing, catastrophic thinking, life and death scenario. So
interesting. So they don't even have to remember it for it to be imprinted in their brain.
exactly right.
Mm-hmm.
It is more of an imprint. It is something that the body just inherently, whenever you get shocked, right? Whenever you get surprised, you have a physiological reaction.
Mm-hmm.
And depending on what it might be that shocks you,
Mm-hmm.
it could be, just a little trauma, or it could be a very big trauma, right?
Right. I think, yeah, this goes a lot with the attachment theory thing, with how, children that have secure attachments, they learn that their parents, when their parents leave, say to go to work, they're going to come back and they're going to, give them lots of hugs and cuddles and take care of them and be there for them. Or what if the parent is not going to be there emotionally? And this is just for attachment theory. Like, you don't have to be adopted or have different caretakers for this. Lots of people have insecure attachment issues. So either anxious attachment, of course, or avoidance, or anxious avoidant, or like there's a whole bunch of subcategories. It gets kind of complicated, but yeah, it's like on a higher level of that, of is the parent going to be here for you? Like, do you learn
Mhm.
that at a very young age, when you're an infant, when you're 1, 2, 3 years old, toddler, whatever? Like, do you learn that your parents are going to come back to you and that they're going to be there for you? Or do you learn that they're not emotionally, that they're going to ignore you emotionally, or they're going to abuse you emotionally, or they're going to, like, whatever, punish you emotionally? And those creates, interestingly enough, they create attachment issues later on. So,
Mhm.
of course, in my example, and yeah, I don't really talk about this a lot, but I can't be a hypocrite if I'm breaking taboo and asking you questions, right? It's right.
Mhm.
So, and all of course, humanizing, humanizing everyone, including myself. But yeah, in my instance, it was, of course, it's just like, what imprinted in me. I don't even remember, but it must have, where my parents just never came back. They just never came back. First it was one parent, he never came back, and then my other parent
Mhm.
just never came back. And then when I was thrown into new caretakers, and then there's this whole thing where I wasn't supposed to, like, be nice to my grandmother. I wasn't supposed to love her because there were like tensions in my family. It's like a whole complicated thing. And then, and then you start to doubt, like, who your caretakers are and whose side you're supposed to be on. So it was very traumatic, and that's why it's taken me a whole lifetime of self-development and work and psychology to get to where I am today. And I'm definitely happy and proud to say that I am now of a secure attachment style. I have taken multiple tests multiple times, and and read enough about it, and been in multiple relationships where I know that I have finally gotten over my, I used to be avoidant. It made me an
Okay.
avoidant attachment. So, yeah, but it's taken me a long time and I'm finally secure. Interestingly enough, there are people out there who have not gone through those same traumas that I have, or have not even gone through that difficult of traumas, and they're still not secure attachment. There's a lot of that happening in relationships that cause a lot of
Mm.
drama in relationships, where, so that's why I always say, like, people, when you're getting into relationships, like, one of the major things you should find out is, what is your attachment style and how does that play into effect? Because that's going to follow you for the rest of your life if you don't try to get yourself to a secure attachment style.
Mm.
And it's going to affect the way that you raise your children. So just like what you were saying, Moses, right? Bringing your trauma to your children's trauma, right? Just carrying on that trauma. But
Mhm.
anyway, I digress. I don't know how I started talking about this.
No, no, thank you. Thank you for bringing it up. And I'm uh, happy for you. You know that you've reached a sense of secure attachment for yourself, and that you've done the work on yourself. This is so important. It is really one of the cornerstones for my practice and the way that I work with my clients. Is I work first with building that self-awareness, and it is vitally important that we all do that, whether you need therapy or not. That we're always self-reflective, that we're always looking at ourselves, and in a way, for me, it's matching who I am with my principles, with my values. Am I really in sync with myself? And then on the other side to this, going back to the trauma side, is, am I really in touch with my body? Am I really connected? Am I fully attached with what's happening in my body. All the different systems of the body are connected. Where we see a number of older adoptees developing certain kinds of diseases or certain kind of eating disorders or certain kind of autoimmune disorders, we're understanding that the body is under a lot of stress, right? And we know that a lot of adoptees have trouble sleeping. We know that they have nightmares. And so the body is constantly on about being triggered, about this trauma that is not in the conscious awareness, right? Unless you really start uncovering these things. And it's useful, it's helpful to understand what might be going on physically first. I pay close attention to anniversaries of certain traumas. So that could be times a day, that could be times a week, that could be certain times a month, certain times of year. For me, I do find myself being caught up in a cyclic kind of pattern. So the more I'm paying attention to this, the more I'm able to, one, not be so stressed about it, not beat myself up about it. I'm able to be more forgiving, to be more gentle with myself. So I'm able to then respond to what my body needs and be able to get through that part of the cycle a lot easier.
I feel I feel like that happens to women once every month. You're saying what cycle of the month? It's just, yeah.
Mm-hmm. You could say, Serena, we're all connected to nature. We're all, we have to remember, that we did come from this earth,
Right.
And so it makes sense, that we pay that closer attention to natural cycles. Yeah. And I just want to point out, there are, yoga practices, there's other kind of movement kind of therapies, singing therapy, music therapy, drama therapy, anything that helps you, be in touch with your body and
Oh,
move
yeah,
and
absolutely.
have it flow through you.
Oh, I forgot. I wanted to talk to you, Moses. That just reminds me. One of the things that we spoke about, Moses is actually a man of many talents. He does many different things. Yeah, not just LMFT and adoption specialties. We were talking about this during our initial phone call, but we realized we had this in common where we both enjoy doing many different things, a lot of just we're all over the place actually. And people are often surprised when they find that out about me because they get to know me in one category and then for some reason just like, oh, that's who she is, labels, like, oh, she's a founder of a mental health nonprofit. And then they're like, wait, you do this and this and this, and you've had this in your background. It's interesting because I get in this conversation a lot with creatives, people that are creative in the brain oftentimes do many different things because that's just the way that our brains work. And I happen to be creative and entrepreneurial, so I have both, and it's like sometimes it's a battle. Sometimes it really is a battle in my brain. Like it's today my entrepreneurial logic day, or it's today my creative day. And both need fostering in their own way. I managed to make it work, and I can't ever imagine my life just going down like one straight path. So I was quite curious when Moses told me all the things that he did, which you'll have to share all the many things that you do, Moses. Being an LMFT, being a therapist, because I'm pretty sure I even had therapists tell me like you should focus on one thing. It's like and they weren't, of course they didn't come from a creative background. So I'm quite curious about your thoughts on this, Moses. So first of all, what do you do? What are the many things you do?
Okay. I am also a creative. I do photography, and I've done what I call my version of fine art landscape photography, and I have also done more commercial work, headshots and portraits as well.
I've seen your photography site. Yes, very cool.
Thank you, thank you.
Quite artistic. Definitely does not look like a therapist site, of course.
Well, thank you, thank you. I have also been a consultant, supervisor, a mentor. I have founded the Guide Foundation, um,
Which is a
and
nonprofit. Mm-hmm.
and it's a nonprofit. We're going into our fourth month, and the mission there is basically to save lives in the intercountry transracial adoptee community. And we are building out programs for education and mental health awareness. So a lot of great creative things are going on there. So I've really gotten what I considered to
So
be
sorry,
on.
I just want to stop you, but you said a lot of good creative things are going on there when you mentioned building up programs for education and intergroup awareness. So I find it very interesting because a lot of people don't think that that takes the creative side of the brain, but it really does. Entrepreneurship is actually quite creative, I think. Yeah, and of course, when you're building programs, you do need to come up with things. It's like inventions, like inventors are quite creative, so yeah, I just wanted to point that out because a lot of people see them as separate, and you're kind of diving into, what we were talking about. Like, no, it doesn't necessarily have to be separate. Like a lot of times they mesh together for a reason. But
Mhm.
yeah, sorry, cut you off. Uh-huh. What else? What else do
No,
you do?
no, it's all right. I really was coming to the end and saying that for me it's I put it it's working on all cylinders. You
What does
know,
that mean?
it means taking all the different sides, and one day it could be all creative things, or it could be more problem solving and analyzing and figuring things out. A lot of days it's doing on both sides. It's doing it all. And I've been finding myself being aligned with others who are finding ways to bridge their many selves together. And so, to answer your question, I think you need to again pay attention to your spirit, to what you're wanting to do, and there really is no one right way. Right? There is no one right way to live your life the way that you want to live it. So for me, it's a lot about just empowering you and just being that much more aligned with what you want to do, your passion, your values.
Do you think that's a better for mental health?
Absolutely, and it goes back to this idea of being connected. So you have a relationship with yourself, and the more connected you are with yourself, yeah, I think the more fulfilling, the more meaningful life experiences you'll have. So I'm very fascinated to hear what kinds of creative things and things are you doing.
Oh, it's all up there in my bio on our website. But Yeah, well, let's see. I'm a writer. I love writing, but I love all forms of writing. So even in that, I'm quite creative because some writers will only write one form, one medium. Like some painters will only work with oil. Some artists will work with all canvases. I like that as a writer. I love writing poetry. Um, Working on my novel for many years now, but I wrote two. So
Mm.
I write scripts. So I'm in the entertainment industry in Hollywood. Hence why I'm in LA. So I've done a lot of script writing, co-collaboration projects, which is great because writing can be a very solitary profession. And I would say that, that's good and bad in the sense where like spending so much time by yourself cranking out things like writing is it's quite, you have to be very comfortable with being alone, so script writing, though, you can collaborate. It's really fun. I love writing songs. I have a background in music. I originally moved out to Los Angeles on a scholarship for concert piano. So, so I play piano. I also teach on the side. I never want to forget my music. So, I find it very fulfilling to teach families and kids and people that want to have the gift of learning music. I also I'm a recipient of the 25th annual LA Music Awards, which a lot of people don't know. I just only
Congratulations.
recently, only recently put that on my bio. Um, because my thing is I used to hide a lot of this because like I used to hide a lot of sides of myself because every time I put on a hat, I thought in order not to confuse people and not to, I guess, have to face judgment or just people, who can't do who can't do it all, not believing that you can do it all type thing, But now I think, especially with the advent of so many influencers and creatives out there and stuff, like everyone's seeing that there's like a surplus of people doing a bunch of different things, It's like you're not just one thing. A lot of people out there I'm seeing are multi-talented and doing well in all of their talents, and finding ways to mesh them all together. So I think that really is the key. But yeah, I do a lot. Also owned a business before, so uh, yep, entrepreneurial mindset type things. Have a background in psychology, personal development. So yeah, I don't know. It's like I like
Wow.
it. I enjoy it. Yeah.
Wow.
What can I say? However, I do know that I work a lot. I do know that I rarely ever have time. So, but life gets figured out. It's okay. I mean, this is what's happening in my life right now. What else is happening during quarantine anyway, right?
Mm.
So, so time to concentrate on all of this, and then, we'll see what the journey brings. And
Mhm.
yeah, yeah. But that was through one of my personal development courses, actually, that changed my life. Where in it, the whole concept was like one of my coaches was like, because I remember saying like, oh, if I do this, I'm going to have to sacrifice this. And if I do this, I'm going to have to sacrifice that. And, like, I'm going to have to sacrifice so many things in order to do that. And then she was like, where is this coming from? Where is this story coming from? Because it's a story that you are creating. It's not, doesn't have to be your reality. Like, you're the person telling yourself that. Why can't you do it all and have it all? Like, why can't
Mhm.
you? Why can't you do it all? Like, who's telling you not to? And that actually really, really changed my life. And I found it so profound. And I'm all about empowering people to do the same, actually. So, like, whatever you want to do, like, go out and do it. Go get it, you know?
Mhm. Mhm. Absolutely.
Mm.
That is wow, just incredible. My graduate studies really put me on that path of self-discovery, of really, digging into myself. And, say 20 years later, I'm just starting to figure this out, where it's been a journey of, oh, I can do this and it's okay to do that, and kind of break through these constructs. And if you didn't know this, your brain organizes information that way, by labeling, by putting things categorically together first.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and it's in a way of breaking through that and saying, oh no, we need to get to the specifics. We need to get to what are the unique identifiers about me that I can offer the world, that I can offer my clients, that I can offer, whatever it is I'm doing. And it's that connection that has really been turned on for me to be doing what I'm doing today. It's been that kind of journey of, okay, I'm starting off here. Oh, and then I can actually expand out and I can do other things along the way that inform me you can do more, and you're capable, and you, in a way, you need to, because we all have that potential to do
Mm-hmm.
more, to offer something special to the world. And I think it's really important to be the example as you are,
Mm-hmm.
and to say it is possible and it's necessary to have that fulfilled life, to have that sense of fulfillment and wholeness as a human being.
What do you mean by saving lives as far as talking about adoptees? Because I mean, obviously, when we say saving lives with breaking taboo, we're talking about from suicide, you know, and educating on mental health disorders. But what do you mean by adoptees? You mean like getting them adopted, or there's suicides, or what do you mean?
Mm, mm. Serena,
What?
we can have a whole other podcast about what saving lives means.
Okay.
Um, uh, you know, there. So I'll bring up two things. But first, uh, saving lives in that the suicide rate, or the really it's the rate of suicide attempts, is 4 times higher for adoptees than non-adoptees.
Hmm.
Um, yes, the rate of addiction is almost 2 times higher.
Hmm.
The contributing factors include depression and trauma, um, anxiety, and a whole host of other diagnoses that often are masking the underlying trauma. You know, so we're diagnosed with ADHD, bipolar, borderline personality disorder, sometimes even psychotic disorders, because we're so out of touch from things, eating disorders, as well as addiction. And the interesting thing here is the diagnosis of reactive attachment disorder is uh, being pushed out by understanding that no, this is really complex PTSD, or complex trauma, or
Oh,
childhood
interesting.
developmental trauma. Um, and putting those pieces together uh, is really important. So that's what we're doing. We're actually addressing the rate of attempted suicides in the adoptee community, specifically the intercountry transracial adoptee community. And for right now, we're focused on Korean adoptees.
Yeah, I mean, perhaps we can, you know, obviously we've already talked about this before and during our preliminary call, but in the future, work together on raising more awareness on these issues. What words of advice would you like to say to people out there who are experiencing adoption trauma?
Mm. Mm-hmm. What we are looking to do right now, we are addressing the intergenerational trauma transmission. We are addressing historic pain and trauma. We are addressing the rampant racism that is spreading across marginalized communities, and certainly the Asian communities here in the U.S. Um, and for adoptees, at this stage, when we think about how we are actively creating history for the future generations, we have to be thinking about our contribution right now. And what I say is, it is so important for us to speak our truths, to what we call come out of the fog, come out of the adoptee fog, coming out of the experiences of internalized racism, the experiences of being silenced, the experiences of feeling alone and cut off from one another. So I say it is vital that we come together, that we collaborate, that we bring the adoptee community together, that we bring the inter-country transracial adoptee community together, that we bring the Korean adoptee community together. So on so many levels, it is understanding that we are just at the very beginning of building the foundation for an adoptee culture.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's really important that we all, wherever we are on our journey, to speak up, to show up, to be who we are, and to know that we deserve to be here, that we are here, and so we're not going to go away. It's important to go after being seen and heard and validated for the experiences that we've all gone through, and to say for a lot of it it's not right, and that we have to go after these reforms, and we have to do all of our parts to stop killing ourselves, to save our own lives. So there will be future generations who won't be burdened with the kind of traumas that we've been burdened with. So just show up and speak up, and know that there are other adoptees who have arrived, who have awakened, and are ready and willing to be supportive and help you through. We want to be there for each other.
Wow, definitely. Yeah, I love it. Love it, Moses. Really great work. And this was such an insightful, inspiring, amazing conversation that I definitely feel like needs to be had. We're all in this together, and definitely check out guidefoundation.org as well as breaking-taboo.org for resources on mental health awareness, suicide prevention, and in Moses's case specifically with adoption as well. So yeah, thank you so much. All right, have a wonderful night or day. Have a wonderful day, everyone, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.